Good afternoon, everybody. We are back to right side of campus. We're live. It's Monday, August 28th, 2017. I'm your host, the Big Man on Campus, joined by Drew Martin. Drew Martin filling in for Donnie Rightside. We're live, Drew, every day now, 12:30 Eastern. We've asked for it. We've been granted permission. We're going to be on every day at 12:30, breaking down the day in sports, giving you predictions on every game. Drew, Donnie Rightside, I don't know, he's MIA, but you're here to fill in. How you doing today?
Big man, thanks for having me on. I'm doing well. I know a lot of people are probably disappointed that Mr. Rightside isn't in. I'm not as good looking. I don't have the, I don't know, wherewithal, the BMOC kind of interaction, but I'll do my best. No need to hate on me too much. Donnie is tough shoes to fill, big man.
I think you'll be just fine, Drew. You and I have done some shows recently together. Did a lot of college football breakdowns, and I think we've developed our little rapport and chemistry. So interested to do the show here today. Welcome into everyone. Hopefully, people know we're on. Usually, they expect us Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you just confirmed we are on every day now. 12:30 Eastern, same time. Obviously, on Saturday it'll be 11 o'clock. I'll be on with Pistol Peter Loshak. Welcome into everyone here. We do appreciate it. All the guys in the chat box, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Drew, let's recap the weekend. Obviously, it's a Monday, so we do have to look back at what went on over the weekend. We did have a big fight, which I'm not sure if many people knew that was going on, but we'll break that down. How was your weekend? You have a good weekend?
Oh, big man. Yeah, I had a great weekend. Actually watched the fight in Jaco Beach, Costa Rica with Cynthia, Matty Ice. Let's see, we had Dave Mason there as well. It was a great time, man. Just watching that fight. It was all in Spanish too, which was interesting, listening to the Spanish announcers. But
Spanish announcers always make it much better, Drew. They always seem to if I could watch soccer in Spanish, I usually do. I prefer either Irish or Spanish announcers. So I'm big into Spanish. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like, with every little punch, it was like the world was ending.
Yeah, sure.
That's great.
I'm sure that the TKO was nice, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. Where's the right side? I'm sure I'll have to answer this 8,000 times today. He's not on. He's not on today. He's down the shore. I believe he's like 2 towns over from me right now. He's with his wife and his daughter, so he's enjoying a little day off. I believe he comes back today, so he'll be on tonight with us on the late night on campus. Which, by the way, Donnie, I call you Donnie, Drew. We'll discuss that a little bit later on what the future of that show is. Donnie needed a day off. Yeah, it's interesting. They don't give me any days off here. I'm on the most on SPR, and I don't get a day off. I guess Drew. The hard workers, they just say, well, keep hitting the field and keep it going.
Hey, big man, I got a question for you. I'm setting the line at the number of times you call me Donnie at 2.5. You taking overs or unders for this?
I'm going to go under because I think once I kind of figure, kind of feel who I'm with and doing the show, I'm good. But, it's cool, though, because, Drew, Saturday night I did a show right before the fight with Peter Kahn from Forbes. And he had the same name as Loshak, clearly. So it was pretty easy. That one was easy. But you have the same D's, and it's just tough. But I think I'll be fine. I'm going to go under. I've already said it once, so I have really just one other time to not lose that bet. But, Drew, let's start out in college football. Obviously, we had 5 games over the weekend, one of which, again, it was a FCS-FBS matchup. I actually had the under in this game. It came in under 60. It was a pretty easy winner. This one was pretty much over in the first quarter. BYU with not much in the way of meaningful, they didn't look good in this game. I mean, obviously, Portland State has given a lot of good teams in FBS trouble over the years. They've beaten North Texas. They've beaten Washington State. Just didn't have enough to beat BYU, but they made this a one-score game most of the way through. A nice attempt at an upset here, but BYU was just a little tough, but doesn't set well for them next week against LSU. But the under really was pretty easy in this one, Drew. It didn't even come close. Did you watch this game 1 second at all?
Yeah, I did. I watched the first half of this game here at the offices, and hats off to you. The under in the BYU game and also Stanford, I would say, were the 2 most convincing sides, whereas on the short card, if you had those two games, that was absolutely the right call and the right handicap. So hats off to you. It looks like, BYU going up against Portland State. I also was taking in your kind of handicap on Portland State with the freshman quarterback. He did look pretty athletic, something to keep in mind if you're betting FCS football in the future. I think he has a high upside. But as far as BYU, I don't think they look good. I know coming into this season, a lot of the mainstream media was kind of high on BYU. I don't know. I think they might be overrated going forward, big man.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely think they're a team that goes through lumps. I mean, Portland State does a pretty good football team. I will say they're well coached, and I'm going to tell you this week, I like them again to cover the number against Oregon State. Oregon State did not look good defensively against Colorado State. I think they have problems, and over the years, like I've said, Portland State is covered against these big spreads. I mean, they've really been able to really. I mean, they've won games as 28-point underdogs. I remember I was on it against Washington State, first game of the year. So that's something I'm going to look forward to next week. Coming up here with the unofficial start to college football. Yes, sure.
Do you have a number for that BYU or the Portland State game this week?
I don't have it just yet. I'm sure it's out there. I wasn't able to pull it up while we were talking. I'm sure we can do that, though.
I don't see it. What would you put that number at?
Oof. I would say – yeah, I would probably say in the 20s, I would think.
Okay.
I mean,
I'd be with you. I'd like Portland State plus 20.
Yeah, I mean, if I can get – I would say it's 23 to 26 maybe.
Okay.
I mean, again, it is an FCS. Oregon State's not a lost team. I mean, they're an okay side. I would see that in the 20s. If I can get in the 20s, I would look at Portland State in that game possibly. They've showed they can play with. I mean, I think BYU is better than Oregon State, but we'll definitely see. Keep in mind, guys, we'll break down the baseball card a little bit later. We'll talk about 5 or 6 games that we're looking at. Obviously, on the Monday card, not exactly huge, so we'll get into that as well. Other games Saturday. South Florida does not cover. And shout-outs to you if you got it early. If you got 19.5, congratulations. If you got 20, you pushed. But most people lost this game, Drew. And look, I mean, this is the problem. And I hate to call it and say it, but if you listen to the show on Saturday, I told you I had a feeling there was going to be a late touchdown from San Jose State to hang in there. And look, they hung in this game. They were up 16-0 early. Quentin Flowers, though, the second quarter was unbelievable. 28 points in the second quarter. Really kind of took advantage of San Jose State and being who they are. I thought the under was the play here. I didn't think San Jose would score that many points. They didn't end up scoring many points. I thought it'd be like 48-21, something like that, but I wasn't too far off. South Florida gets the job done. They win the game. They're going to get much better. I mean, it's first game out of the chute on the road in the West Coast. Quentin Flowers looked good as always, Drew.
Yeah, this is actually the game I got to go back and watch on replay. I was only able to stream one game on the ride to Hako with Matty Ice and Cynthia, so I obviously chose the Hawaii UMass game. But as far as just looking at this market movement, this is what it's all about. You hit on it, getting the good numbers. That's why you should have multiple sports books. And this actual instance, the early money was the winning money for USF. If you didn't get it early, you lost. I would ask you this. How did San Jose State's quarterback situation look, in your opinion, BMOC?
Well, I mean, Josh Love wasn't very good. I mean, he's 50% completion percentage. Look, I'm not going to come out and say that South Florida's secondary is particularly great or anything. The problem with San Jose is they didn't run the ball particularly well, only averaged about 3 yards a carry. They just weren't good enough. I mean, this is what San Jose State is. I got to be honest. I think the fact they scored 22 points is pretty remarkable. I didn't think this team I thought they were at maybe 17 points. But they had a good first quarter. If they didn't have a good first quarter, this would have been a blowout. And that was kind of when they went up 60-0, it's hard to cover a 21-point number when you're down 60-0 in the first quarter. So, again, they had a valiant effort. They had a chance here. But, again, this is the big thing early on in college football. Between weeks 1 and 4, you're going to have big moves on games. And you got to really be able to bet early. If you're not able to bet early, it's hard to bet college football early on. If you have books that, and that's one of my knocks on Bovada. and I'm not trying to call them out, but they have trouble putting lines up sometimes. Make sure when the book, and that's why Bet Online's a great book. Some of these books are so great because they're leading the markets and they're not scared to put out opening numbers. And that's one of the reasons if I was to go to Vegas and bet, I would go to South Point. I like the fact that they're willing to put lines out. They're willing to set the market expectation for where the line's going to be and where they're going to set it at. And some books are scared to do that. They're not. Bet Online does a good job offshore of doing that. But yeah, if you can't bet early in college football, I think you might want to look for another book because you're going to miss out on a lot of moves as far as early on.
And big man, to follow up on that, I absolutely agree to get in early in college football, and especially to take it to the next step, weeks 2 through about weeks 5 or 6. That's when you'll see these huge moves, especially, we're talking touchdown moves, especially in totals. So I agree, man. You need to have a Bet Online account for sure.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And again, just make sure you have books that are putting lines out early. I mean, college basketball is another one. I mean, when you can get those lines over, I mean, there are certain books that won't put them out until like a couple hours beforehand. But I mean, you look at even quickly, just looking at some of these games early. You look at some of the moves already. I mean, first game, Ohio State, Indiana, 52. Total's already moved to 57.5. I mean, huge moves. I mean, the total in the Tulsa game, that's up to 74, Drew. Open 70.5. I know Peter got 71. Very good number there. So just make sure. I mean, do your due diligence. Sit there. Do the work. It'll pay off for you if you do it. Other ones, where are we at here? Oregon State, Colorado State. This one over was a pretty good play. If you had it, congratulations. Colorado State hit it themselves pretty much. Oregon State hung early. They did things that decent teams do. They hang around and then they lose. They lose pretty handily. A big fourth quarter from Colorado State. Nick Stevens was very good in this game. Drew, we've talked about it. There are a lot of good quarterbacks in the Mountain West. Brett Rippon, Nick Stevens, Josh Allen. But Nick Stevens has really come into his own as the quarterback of this football team. 3 touchdowns, 334 yards. A very nice effort for Colorado State. Michael Gallup was very good in this offense. 11 catches. A very nice performance for Colorado State, Drew.
Yeah, absolutely. They looked like the good team. And I left this one out. If you had the Colorado State Oregon State over, absolutely the right side. One of the best bets of the weekend. That was a no-doubter. Yeah, Nick Stevens looked great. I actually thought Lutton for Oregon State, he looked okay. You got to keep in mind that he hasn't played this brand of football as far as big boy football in his life. That was his first game. He looked okay. I think he'll be able to move the ball for the Beavers in Pac-12 football. But yeah, Colorado State, I'm looking to bet them over. That offense looked really good and should be able to put up points against Mountain West defenses as well, big man.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this out there to people. And if Taylor, Fade, do whatever you want to do. Keep in mind, it's up to you. But I actually took Colorado State plus 210 on the money line against Colorado this week. I think they have a real possibility of going in there and getting an upset. Colorado crushed them last year. I don't think Colorado is anywhere near what they were last year, clearly. Did lose their defensive coordinator, lost Sifo Lufa. And look, we can knock and say that maybe Montez is a better option, but Sifo Lufa was that football team. He had been there for 4 years. He was a veteran. It was a leader in that clubhouse as far as that team. And you look at the public slamming Colorado State. This line's open 8. It's down to 5. I get the money line at 210. It's down to plus 180. I just think, playing in that first game, kind of having that cohesion that other teams don't have, it's kind of an an advantage that maybe another team doesn't have. I think it's that Boulder rivalry, that Boulder Colorado Springs rivalry, or wherever Colorado State is. I like them here. I'll look into it more, but I took a shot with it early here.
Yeah, is this game in Denver again?
It is. It's down in Colorado, yeah.
Yeah, that's usually a cool atmosphere, too. It always looks fun on TV. But, I'd be with you. It'd be Colorado State or pass for me.
I'm looking ripe at some upsets, Drew. They're going to happen early on. So this is going to be one that I'm looking at. But, yeah, Luton wasn't bad. They have a deep wide receiving core. They have a ton of guys who can catch the football. Null had a big touchdown run, but Colorado State was just a freight train in that second half. I mean, 34 points in the second half for them. Hawaii and UMass. And look, Drew, we talked about this game ad nauseum all week. I had a feeling it was going to be close. I had a feeling it was going to come down to one of the final possessions. For me, the over was the play. I think I said the score would be 38-35, and that's ended up what it was. For me, though, and I congratulate all the Hawaii backers. For me, though, let's be real. I mean, you struggled. You were on the edge of your seat all game. Hawaii is not that good a football team. They're a good offense. They can't stop anyone defensively. They make a ton of mistakes. They're not a team that I think early on you're going to want to bet on. Wait for them to go home. Wait for them towards the end of the year like they did last year. They did enough to get the job done here, but you couldn't feel good about it all game, Drew, could you?
No, I will say this. In defense of Hawaii backers, I do think they were the better team. However, I think you bring up some great points. I think that, one, UMass going forward, especially after this loss, I'd actually look to bet on them. I know that sounds wild. I know you can make the argument that maybe they were one of the worst teams in all of college football, but they can move the football. Their quarterback play was pretty good, and they have athletes all over the field. They've been recruiting, pretty heavily in high recruited areas down in the South. They have a lot of athletes on that team. And I thought you also brought up a good point of betting against Hawaii on the mainland. They were there since Tuesday, and all of the rest of their games, they'll probably be getting in late Thursday night for the games on Saturday. It's going to be tough for Hawaii, and I'm not looking to back them on the mainland going forward.
Yeah, they just have trouble, and they're a team that is not particularly smart as far as they commit bad penalties. They turn the ball over consistently. They're a good offense. Don't get me wrong. I think they'll blow just because they do have a pretty solid offense. They can move the football. Overs is going to be a good bet with them all year. They're just one of those teams that are going to be able to move the football, and they don't do a real good job of stopping it. But credit to UMass. Pretty good performance. They're right there. Over was the one. And,
Big man, what about the mobility from the Hawaii quarterback? Did you notice that?
Drew Brown's really good. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's a guy that he's, again, the big knock on those kind of quarterbacks is, maybe they leave the pocket early or, they're quick to run the football. But, he was good. They were good in general. They're a good offense. They have no qualms for me. I wonder, though, how they perform, against a good defense. That's obviously going to be the big thing with them. Stanford, the team, and look, Drew, we talked about it. I think you and I both mentioned that we thought Rice would be one of the worst teams in the country. I think David Bailiff should be fired today. I don't know how at this level. And look, are they a good football team? No, but you're going to Sydney, Australia. It's a cool spot. You're the only game on TV. It's a good spot for you to kind of maybe show that there's a little bit of movement in that program. And just a pathetic performance. They're outscored. They lose 62-7, outgained by 415 yards. Stanford puts up over 650 yards of offense. Just a pathetic performance from Rice. I'm not sure why Bailiff's still there. It doesn't make any sense to me, but they may be, Drew, the worst team in football, as we go along this year.
Yeah, a couple things on this, big man. If you haven't read Point Blank today, I would recommend reading it. Dave Malinsky points out a couple things. One, with the hurricane coming in there in Texas, I believe Rice still isn't back. So they've had some issues getting back. They don't know exactly where they're going to be practicing. Something to keep in mind going forward. I think the Rice Owls are absolutely fade city. No way I'm looking to back them the next couple games. It's fade or pass on Rice. Also about this game, I mean, Stanford absolutely just bulldozed them, big man. And Rice is going to have a tough time playing competitive football against the better teams. So watch out wanting to kind of take a lot of points against good teams. I would not go that route at all with Rice. And I can't believe David Bailiff still has a job going into this season. The fact that how long do they hold on to this guy? I guess he's a nice guy, been there a while, maybe till the end of the season.
Yeah, but here's the problem, Drew. I mean, nice guys don't win football games. They might, but sometimes you got to move on. I mean, this old boys thing down in, down in the South. I mean, move on. I mean, he's not good enough. I mean, and here's the thing, Drew. I mean, luckily they don't play till September 9th. So keep in mind, and again, obviously the sad scenes in Houston, it might be a little bit until they get home. Rice is not far from Houston. Obviously a tough scene there, but yeah, I agree. Bailiff's they got to move on there. I'll say this against UTEP. I love that under. I don't know what the number is going to be. It's currently not out yet. But, if I can get a number, I get a feeling we're going to get it like 47, 48 or something. Both those teams struggle to move the ball. I said they'll win 2 games. After seeing that performance, I don't know if they'll win 1, maybe against UAB, but both those games are on the road at UTEP and UAB. So it's going to be a long year for Bailiff. He could be the first coach fired, if you ask me. Cynthia, why don't you be the other half of the odds couple for football season? Yeah, how about it, Cynthia? Do it. I still think Stanford has struggles with Christ at quarterback. Keep in mind, he's off of a bad knee injury. Keller Christ will be okay. They rushed him back. Again, keep in mind, good opponent to face in Rice. You think their secondary struggled? I think their secondary is one of the best in the country overall. But, again, you and I disagree quite frequently. I will say this is one where I disagree. We'll see. I have them at 110-1 to win the college football playoff, so we'll see. They're one of my biggest underdogs. We'll see how that goes, Drew. But overall, a nice little primer to the action this week. On a scale of 1 to 10, Drew, how much are you looking forward to the week 1?
The real week 1, this upcoming week, 10. I can't wait, man. Yep. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's it's heaven.
Yeah, I agree. As far as the comment section, keep in mind at SBR Forum, SBRpicks.com, you can comment on the article. So again, don't be vulgar, be conducive to that, and make sure you're putting in some good stuff. But from what I understand and what I've seen, there's some really good information over there. Head on over to SBR Picks. A lot of good articles from the guys over at SBR Picks. We don't. They obviously don't really interact here with us on the videos, but, Matthew Jordan and Rain Man and a lot of those guys over there that are writing the articles, doing a good job of putting out good information. And, I commend them for that. Where are we going here? Please come down, Big Man and Donnie. You're coming down in October, November. Maybe we need to make it a thing. Etienne Monroe, if he's coming, I definitely want to be there. And I'm not saying that from any kind of gay perspective. But, Drew, off the air, I have to tell you a story that Etienne Monroe told me that seems very hard to not believe. And when I tell you this story, it might be. And again, I've had most success with women in the world, as you can see. But this tops even some of my exploits. So I have to say, you'll have to hear about that story someday. It is very good.
Why not right now?
I don't want to put him. No, not on the air. This is not something that I want to discuss on the air with everyone. Again, I don't know if he wants me to, and I don't want to ever do that. So I'll tell you off the air, Drew. But very good story nonetheless. Drew, the fight this weekend was one for the ages from most people's point of view. For me, though, look, I hate to keep saying it, but I told you so. This is exactly what I told you would happen. Floyd would, hang around, jab, do his thing. No punch affected him ever. Conor's jabs were that of a small bird jabbing at food. It was nothing. It didn't bother Floyd. Floyd doesn't care when he wins, as long as he wins. We need to stop talking about him. Who cares how many punches Conor landed to Manny Pacquiao? Manny Pacquiao's been hurt. He hasn't been the same fighter for many years. Floyd did his thing like he normally does. And for all you people that say, well, he didn't knock him down, so I can't believe it. He stayed in for 10 rounds. It doesn't matter. He was going to get knocked down 15 seconds if that ref doesn't stop the fight. Great job by Robert Byrd to stop the fight. The fight was over. Conor was clearly done. He hadn't thrown a punch in 2 rounds. He was gassed. And Floyd did his thing. I would hope Conor doesn't continue this trek into boxing. It's not going to work. He would not beat any boxer. He wouldn't even hang. And I'll be real with that. He would not hang with any boxer that regularly fights. Drew, what were your thoughts on the fight?
I thought it was a great fight. I thought it was great for both MMA and boxing. It was right what both of those sports needed. I think Conor McGregor did a great job. I thought that he was actually the better fighter the first 3 rounds. I was very surprised by it. He was the bigger man, the more active man. I thought that he was actually going to be able to take that. And he surprised me. I really think so. He's a great showman. It's great. I think the future for Conor McGregor, not only in sport, but in success in life and making money, I mean, I think it's only a matter of time before that guy's a billionaire. But if he plays his cards right, which it seems like he has a good head on his.
I mean, where is he going to get all that from? Because he's not going to make anywhere near what he did in the UFC that he did Saturday. And B, could he get maybe one more fight against, I could very well see Paulie Malignaggi, St. Patrick's Day in Brooklyn. Peter Kahn and I were talking about that. I think that could very well happen, and I think then it would end. But I just don't know that I see the big paydays for him. Who's he going to fight in boxing? I mean, maybe that would sell. I don't know, but it'll be interesting. I will say this, and Drew, this is the nicest way I'm going to say it. You don't win fights in the first 2 rounds. And that's what losers say. Losers say, well, I did win the first 2 or 3 rounds, but you didn't win. It doesn't matter. Fights aren't won in the second and third round, especially when you can't knock someone out, and he had no chance of knocking out Floyd. Floyd wasn't hurt. You could tell he wasn't. He was just kind of playing with Conor. He turned it up. He knew when he would turn it up. I had 9th round. It ended up being 10th round. But Drew, you would agree that if that fight continued for, let's say, maybe 20 seconds longer, Conor would have got knocked the fuck out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't make that argument. And I was actually rooting for Conor McGregor, even though I had a ticket on Mayweather. But yeah, absolutely. It was stopped at the right time. There's no doubt about it. You could see it coming from the round before. He was running out of gas. It was becoming obvious. But I will say this, big man, and somebody just chimed in like he only won the first and the third rounds. Yeah, I know that, but like by the end of the third round, he was winning the fight, in my opinion, anyway. And to say that, he's a loser or he's not a winner, all the intangibles were in Mayweather's favor. This is a guy that went in and did his sport. All the rules favor Mayweather. I thought that they actually did do a pretty good job of reffing it and letting him kind of grapple a little bit more than you normally see in a boxing match. I think it actually made it a more exciting event. I'm glad that they did that. But yeah, I mean, I thought that he hung in there for 10 rounds, did a great job, looked good, and the showman in him was there as well. I thought it was a great event. Overall, he did lose. You're right. He lost to a minus 500 favorite in the end. So I thought it was a great game, a great match, a great sporting event, big man.
Drew, I have some bad news for you. And again, we haven't had the final numbers out just yet, but I have some bad news. According to Erdetto, a digital platform security company, 239 illegal streams of the fight were watched by approximately almost 3 million people. 165 were made available through social media channels. And that's according to Peter Kahn at Forbes we had on Saturday. I'm interested in seeing what the final numbers end up being. I still think you're going to have a winner with your ticket there, but what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I actually can't log into my Bet Online account right now, the internet or something on my phone, so I wasn't able to see how they graded it. And obviously yesterday was the
numbers aren't out, so I'd imagine it's still hanging there.
Okay, it's still pending. Yeah, obviously the illegal stuff that bothers me. I thought that they would be able to, I read a couple articles how they were going to crack down on that. It looks like it's something we're going to have to deal with going forward, but hopefully it cashed. I do know this, talking to Dave Mason on Saturday night, Bet Online had a record day. It was the most money that they've ever taken for one day in the history of Bet Online. So if things like that carry over towards the pay-per-view views, I think it could cash. However, I think it's going to be close.
Can you ask Matt Holt why they didn't accept Floyd's bet? He's not going to answer that. They don't talk about specific customers. If he didn't answer for ESPN, he's not going to answer for us. But again, only they know. And again, that's something that they have to do. Floyd by KO, TKO was the ticket. I called it. Yeah, you and everyone else. We all called that. Shout out to us. Great job by the listeners and all of us for calling out Conor McGregor. I can't remember anyone coming on here saying Conor was the winner. I don't think I saw anyone on the SBR chat say they thought Conor could win. Actually, you know what? Loose Cunt bet on him. He was the one guy that bet Conor. I don't know if he thought he could win. It was probably just because he got a good number. Big man on campus, Drew, what do you think about John Jones, Conor McGregor? John Jones can't stay off the white powder. Too much fish scale in his life. If he could stay off of it, maybe. That might be a big fight, Drew. But again, Conor's going to have to go up and wait to do that. I don't think Conor would say no to it. He did with Nate Diaz, so why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't he consider it?
I don't know. I don't think that would be good for Connor. I think John Jones is the best fighter in the sport, and Connor needs to kind of stay away from him. I wouldn't go there if I was.
I mean, you got to figure. I mean, John Jones is 205 pounds. I mean, he's a light heavyweight. Going from 145 to 170, okay. And he ended up losing that first fight. But you going up almost 90 pounds? I don't know about that. Not 90 pounds.
To fight arguably the best fighter the sport has ever seen. I wouldn't go there if I was him.
Yeah, I don't know if that will happen. Connor might be in too deep with that one. But where else are we going here? Drew Martin, my ticket over 7.5 cashed. I don't know how do you get that bet? That must have been you play with the odds or something there. Ace Farmer bet McGregor also. Well, of course he did. That doesn't surprise me. By the way, Ace Farmer I blocked on Twitter, Drew. I was getting sick of him. I had to block him.
What happened? What did he do?
He just kept getting personal with me, and eventually, I'll take it, laugh about it for once in a while. But when everything I tweet, you're getting personal. It's time to move on. Have fun. Okay. Enjoy your 155 followers, and stop trying to get followers off me. All right. That's what we do now, Drew. Big tough guys want to start fights with guys like myself and you to get followers. That's not the way to do it. So I don't do it.
I didn't see him trying to start a fight. I wasn't paying attention.
He was drinking a little too much Saturday night. So, he was calling me names and, typical Ace Farmers. But if he wants to come in and apologize, I'll consider his apology. Tho Marino is in here, and him and I have had our differences, but I'm going to allow him to comment. He's been pretty nice lately.
How are you guys doing lately? Okay.
Well, he does his thing. I do mine. Listen. I mean, I just don't like if he's out bothering me, which he's come out and says that he doesn't like me, that's cool. I respect that. You do your thing. I'll do mine. I have no problem with the kid. I would hope that, he stays away from trolling. I mean, overall, though, he's been fine to me lately, so I have no problem with it. I have no problem talking sports with anyone. But when you start getting personal, you can do it once or twice or whatever, and I'm going to fire back at you. But eventually, I don't want to deal with it, so I'm just going to block you. Let's get into baseball, Drew. Kai's asking, do we like the Marlins today? Let's go down the card here. I know, Drew, you're not doing baseball right now, and I got to be honest, guys, I'm not betting baseball either. I stopped after Friday night. I don't bet any more baseball either. But I do look at the card still, and I do kind of have some interest in it. We do still know about it. 901, 902, Braves, Phillies, I have no opinion on. 903, 904, Marlins, Nationals. I got to tell you, I think the Nationals are the play in this game. When I can get again, we kind of anoint Urania as like this really good pitcher, and he's been pretty good for the most part this year. He's probably their best pitcher, but when he pitches the Marlins, that's not saying a lot. Their pitch rotation's pretty poor at best. Washington's hitting 288 at home this year. Last 3 games for Scherzer against the Nationals, 16 innings, just 2 earned runs. And Urania is hittable on the road. I'm not kind of anointing him as like this amazing pitcher. Maybe at home I'd back him, but on the road here, this looks like a Nationals line to me. Again, though, Nationals off a doubleheader, so that's kind of concerning. But overall, I think they'll get the job done here. I would say like 5-2, 6-2, something like that. I'm not looking to bet against Max Scherzer. Drew, anything on that game? Do you have any?
Yeah, this is the one game I actually read about. I've kind of taken just the full approach into college football. So baseball, I'm not as active. But in this one, point blank today, Dave Malinsky wrote it up. He's on Miami. So I guess I would just make the argument towards the other side, big man. As far as Urena, I believe he's 19-4 in as far as plus run line. So if you take the Marlins plus 1.5, he's really kept their team close. And with today, with the minus 225 on Washington, you can get that, I believe, even money. And also looking at the Marlins, they're on a 13-3 run. And you also brought up going against the Nationals off of a doubleheader. So a lot of those intangibles into the handicap seem to be favoring the Marlins, big man.
Yeah. Again, I wish you luck. Anyone out there looking at this game, obviously the Nationals do have some trouble in the bullpen at times. They have kind of fortified that though. I would look 1.5 at the Nationals, but I hear Drew's points. I get the points there. They're playing well, Miami. Stanton's hitting 6,000 home runs. Is anyone here betting the U.S. Open? No, I'm not. I don't. What it was it? Tennis? Yeah, I'm not even. Isn't the U.S. Open golf? Drew, isn't that golf?
I believe so. There may be a U.S. Open in tennis as well.
I guess there's a U.S. Open in tennis too. Did you have fun at the beach, Cynthia? Yeah, she was wearing her thong bikini, from what I understand. Is that true, Drew? That's what I heard.
I did not see a thong bikini, but I'm pretty sure Cynthia did have a great time in Hako Beach.
Oh, great. Good for her.
Have you ever been to Hako, big man?
No, I've never been to Costa Rica, Drew.
It's the craziest town I've ever been in.
Yeah? Cool.
Yes, in my whole life.
I would anticipate it's probably like the town I'm in, except, Spanish and
there's got to be less rules. You're in a town in America.
The town I'm in here, there's a lot of rules. Atlantic City though is quite the shit show, so wouldn't surprise me. But it is a different country. I'll definitely have to get there at some point. Pirates Cubs, no opinion. Giants Padres, I like the under in this game. But I will say this, I think the Padres are the play. That's where I'd look here. There's just something crazy about Waleed Chacin at home. 1.86 ERA in 13 games. He's just been fantastic. And San Diego's won 9 of 13 against the Giants. Giants, we all know, suck. They're terrible. And Jeff Samardzija, Drew, his last 2 outings against the Padres. Think of these numbers: 10 in the third, 12 earned runs, 17 hits, 3 home runs. So the Shark has not pitched well against the mighty Padres. For me, give me the San Diego Fathers at home. -114. That's a play that I'm definitely looking at. When do you get Kluber as an underdog? He is an underdog today, Drew, against the Bronx Bombers, my team. Severino and Kluber, quite the pitching matchup here. 7 at a total. Seems a little low with these two teams. I know there's some big boppers in these lineups, but 2 good bullpens, though. Should be kind of a cagey affair. Call me crazy. I like the Yankees in this game. Do you have an opinion, Drew, on this one?
Yeah, big one. Big man. This is the other one. Severino was the guy going into the All-Star break, and then shortly after that, I was backing almost just automatically. So to see this line, you're right. Kluber as an underdog. When does it happen? But this is the one I was actually looking at Severino. So has he still been in that kind of fine form that he?
Oh, he has been. And you know what? I think the general public's going to look at Kluber at this price and say, I got to bet him at this price. I mean, when do we get Kluber as an underdog bid? Truth be told, Severino's been very good as well. I mean, 3 ERA in 25 outings, a low whip, a lot of strikeouts. Should be a lot of strikeouts in this game. If you watched a couple weeks ago, Cleveland played against the Yankees, and Carrasco pitched against Severino. There were a ton of strikeouts on both sides in that game. Could see a similar outing tonight. But the Yankees have a weird way of beating pitchers that they shouldn't, and then against shitheads they struggle. So at home tonight, I think the Yankees are to play at this price. I think a lot of people will bet on Kluber. Big man, do you think there's good value in the Yankees-Indians over? No, I don't. I don't think that because you have 2 good bullpens, you have 2 real good pitchers. I think you see a lot of swing and misses here overall. So yeah, I wouldn't really get involved with the total there. Mariners Orioles meet Marco Gonzalez against Chris Tillman. Look, I think we see some runs in this game. Since Marco Gonzalez came into the major leagues, Drew, he struggled. 7 home runs in 5 games, an ERA over 7.5, 1.8 WHIP. 4 of his 5 outings have gone over. Tillman's been a guy that's really not been able to figure it out all year. He's been kind of one of the really weak links in a team in Baltimore that's played very well. And I do want to shout out Donnie Rightside, who when he said this, I remember on the roundtable, Drew, I don't know if you remember, he mentioned he thought the Orioles would be a bet-on team in the second half. I think we all were down on it. I think Tho Marino and I mentioned that we thought that that this was one of the worst teams in baseball, really, in the American League. They were just brutal. Pitching was bad. Bullpen sucked. Machado was hitting like 215, but credit to him. They've played very well at home. They really turned it up. How about Baltimore, Drew? They played well, haven't they?
Yeah, it was interesting because right when they got the closer back, their bullpen kind of really looked good going into the second half. So that was a great call. What are they actually against the number?
In the second half, I don't have, but at home they've been really good. I mean, the 38-26 at home, up almost 9 units. They've been a really good home team over the years. Last 3 years, 107 and 137 and 89, up almost 33.5 units. They've been one of the better home teams in baseball. When they're at home, I look to bet on them. And at this price, it's just hard to bet on Tillman. I mean, he's a guy I don't like to back. But I tell you what, this total's odd. I mean, you have two really poor pitchers, two pretty good lineups, and the totals went down a run. So I will say this for anyone interested, it is very windy on the East Coast today. So I'm going to see what the weather is. I know down at the shore it's very gusty, but again, I'm right next to the ocean, so that doesn't surprise me. But the wind is going to be a factor in this baseball game. The wind's blowing in as well. So again, that could be the reason for the move on the total. You might have gusts tonight in the 20-mile-an-hour range. So it is windy, very windy tonight. So keep that in mind for this game. Boston and the Blue Jays, no opinion. Rays, Royals, no opinion. Oakland, Angels. And again, guys, I'm not betting baseball right now. I've taken I've ended it. I'm focusing on other things, but I still want to give some breakdown in some of the games that we're looking at. And again, when Donnie comes back tomorrow, he's been involved with baseball. We'll probably get back to doing the whole card. Angels minus 160 against the A's. I saw Peter Loshek likes the Athletics in this game, and I don't knock him for it either. I mean, you're getting a nice price here on Oakland. The only one I really want to back, though, at this price for Oakland is Blackburn. I don't really want to bet on Daniel Gossett. That's kind of the one knock here, but I think we should see runs in this game. At 9.5, though, it's a little high. I will root Peter on, though, and it looks like people are betting the A's here, Drew. This total, the line open 170. It's down to the 160 mark, so looks like we have some money coming in on the Oakland Athletics. Detroit and Colorado. This is one other one. I like Colorado here on the run line in this game. Detroit, Drew, is just – they've thrown in the towel. Miguel Cabrera is gone. Victor Martinez is out. They traded J.D. Martinez. Jordan Zimmerman, Drew, listen to this stretch. Last 3 outings, 13 2/3. He's given up 21 earned runs, 27 hits, and has a whip of 2.27. Just a dreadful last couple games for Jordan Zimmerman. Drew, he is the worst signing, I think, in Detroit sports history. You bring him in for over $100 million, and he's been just dreadful. Detroit can't hit on the road. Colorado's fantastic at home. They score a ton of runs. And Senzatella is a guy that over most of the year I've looked at back. The line's going in the right direction. For me, Drew, Colorado, I think, is the best play on the board.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have no interest in backing Zimmerman whatsoever. And you're right. Maybe the worst signing of all time. He's definitely past his prime, to say the least.
Yeah, I know in Detroit he was definitely the worst. I mean, they've had some good sports franchises over the years. The Pistons and the Red Wings and even the Tigers have done well, but not one of their finer moments. Luckily, they got Michael Fulmer. That's about all they've done, and Verlander's been decent for them. But, I think Colorado's the one play tonight that I'd look for. I mean, they do have a fortified bullpen as well with Neshek and Greg Holland as well. So for me, I go Colorado is one I'd look at. I'd look at San Diego. Maybe Orioles. Orioles on the side, though. The concern for me there is the wind and Tillman. The Stingway dude's in here. Welcome in, my friend. Giants are 13-41 on the road in the first 5. And Jamar just 1-8 in the first 5. So, that helps our San Diego play. I like San Diego, so he's kind of working with us there on that one. Tigers replace Scherzer with Zimmerman. Yeah, quality GMing there from that group. Pathetic. Drew, anything else that was on your mind this weekend that you wanted to get out to the listeners?
I guess just a couple questions here. Kyle asked, and by the way, Kyle, I don't know if you met with the IFBC. Obviously, you didn't, big man, but he's a really cool guy, dude. A big dude from Atlanta. He's fun.
I've talked to Kyle on several occasions on the phone and stuff. Really down to earth guy. From what I understand, Donnie said we might get along well together. So yeah, I look forward to meeting him at some point. He's talked about coming up to the area here. So I'm sure we'll see him before. But yeah, I've heard he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's really cool. He's from Atlanta. Also, he's asking if I have a car here. The roads are crazy and the drivers are nuts. Yes, they are. The roads aren't very good here. And Costa Ricans are great people, but they're not good drivers. Every day I get into an Uber on the way to work, and it's definitely exciting. It gets me awake in the morning. But no, I don't have a car yet. Thinking about buying one any day now to answer that question. But as far as over the weekend, big man, great to have college football going. It was kind of a soft opening, nothing too crazy, not any great matchups that I really loved. But I am really excited for Thursday through Monday of college football, getting it going, getting my numbers together, and getting ready to bet into the openers on Sunday. And usually Bet Online is first to market, jumping right in on them. Going to put my numbers up against theirs and do some marketology and try to win some money in college football this year.
Yeah, I've like I said, I moved on Colorado State. I took them on the money line plus 210 against Colorado. I did also send a play out on a total. Totals, Drew, for me have been pretty good. I mean, obviously the first week last year I did well with them. Drew, I want to talk about the donkey of the day today. If you watch the Breakfast Club or listen to the Breakfast Club on Hot 97, they do a not Hot 97 on Power 105. They do donkey of the day, and it's normally to someone that does something stupid or is in the news in the entertainment world. Today, I'm going to give the donkey of the day to Ian Cameron's loved Hamilton Tiger Cats. A pathetic move today. They bring in Art Briles as their assistant head coach, just totally desperate to do something positive for their team, and they hire this guy who, under his tutelage at Baylor, 52 rapes were committed or alleged by players. He didn't want it on his hands. We all know what happened there. But, a team just so desperate to do something. He's been lurking around campuses and NFL programs trying to get some kind of job. It hasn't worked. I will say this, Art Briles is a good offensive mind for sure, but I don't think he has a place. To me, he needs to kind of pay for what he did, I feel like. And get this, Drew, tonight, the Hamilton Tiger Cats are hosting an event called Huddles and Heels in order to reach out to female fans. This is not a good idea to do if you're trying to reach out to female fans. So you're going to have an event called Huddles and Heels to relate to female fans, but then you're going to hire Art Briles, a guy that decided to keep quiet 52 rape allegations. Not a good look for them if you're the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And again, I'd like to hear Ian Cameron's opinion on this. I can't imagine he's too happy about it. A bad season for them, Drew.
What's wrong with Huddles and Heels, big man? I think it sounds great.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's a great idea, and it's a great idea to market to female fans, but don't hire Art Briles. That's a bad idea. It makes no sense. It's completely hypocritical. And from what I understand, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I don't know anything about the CFL. I do know that I don't think they've won a game. They're 0-8, and they did lose a game 60-1. They've given up 30 points, seemingly like it's their day job. So I guess they think. And by the way, Drew, do you know their coaches, Hamilton? Do you know their coaches? A good name here. June Jones is their coach.
No way.
Yeah.
Good old June Jones going from Hawaii to Canada. Wild.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not a Charlie Strong fan, though. Louisville benefited from a weak schedule each year. I think he's good for South Florida. I think he's really good for South Florida. I think that's a good job for him. He doesn't necessarily have to be in the limelight there. He can go and recruit. And you would agree, Drew, he's good in like a smaller program, a program that he doesn't have to have boosters on his ass and big football fans and a huge program. It's just not a good idea for him, is it?
Yeah, I would agree absolutely with your assessment. And Texas, you got to remember, is one of the toughest jobs in the country, just as far as a management style, because you got to manage your time right. They have their own network you have to kind of do a job for. But also keep in mind with USF going forward, Charlie Strong was a great recruiter when he was the DC at Florida under Urban Meyer. And remember how good that defense was, how many athletes they had. He will tear up the Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West and over there on the West Coast, all really, really high talent as far as high school football goes,
Sure.
USF is going to be bringing in athletes in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, IMG's down there. There are a lot of good football programs down there. Drew, before we go, 5 more minutes here. ESPN released their top 100 NFL players. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Number 3 was Aaron Donald, surprisingly, who hasn't played. I believe he's holding out right now. Von Miller at 4. Number 5, Antonio Brown. I'll go through the top 10. 6, Julio Jones, who I really like. 7, Khalil Mack, linebacker from Oakland. Le'Veon Bell clocking at 8. Odell at 9. And J.J. Watt at 10. Any people in there you think should be in there, Drew? That aren't?
I'll leave that to you, big man. I don't want to sound like an idiot on here.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I think Rob Gronkowski should be in there. I think he's a freak. I think they rated him 11th. I think he should be in there, though. But overall, I don't have a problem with the list. Aaron Donald might be a little high. Where's J.J. Watt? He's in the top 10, but he's 10th. The guy's still a very good football player. But again, it's ESPN. We can say if we agree or we don't.
Hey, big man, Lauren's on the chat box saying in Costa Rica, all they do is honk the horn. I will say this. They honk the horn here in Costa Rica, like even to say like, thank you. It's honking the horn. I'm always like, coming from South Florida, if somebody's honking the horn, it's almost like they want to fight, How often do you honk the horn when you're driving?
All the time. Listen, if you can drive in South Philadelphia, you can drive anywhere. So if you can drive in Jersey, you can drive anywhere. And that's one thing about like driving. I can't stand people that just drive slow and they have no sort of like initiative. Like other people have places to go, get out of the way. And it's interesting, Drew, where I live now, I live in Lancaster, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away from Philadelphia. And it's home to the Amish. It's the biggest Amish community in the country. And once in a while when I see my parents, they live in a wooded area in Lancaster County. They have not Amish neighbors. And constantly we have to avoid buggies, horse and buggies, and plows and all sorts of things. So it's here you kind of learn how to drive, quickly.
Do you have friends that are Amish? What are they like?
I've met Amish. My father's a builder, so a lot of his crews, as far as some of the carpenters and things like that, are Amish roofers. They're nice people. I mean, they're definitely they're very interested in what we do, like English people do. A lot of them are pretty up and up, though. A lot of them know technologies at this point. A lot of the older ones, the 60, 70-year-olds, they don't want to get photographed. They don't want to talk about anything that's not religious or anything. They don't really bother with anyone. But they're very private people. They don't, they go to church and they don't invite people, and they're very state of themselves. They have big families. They're odd people. I'm not going to say they aren't. They're definitely odd people. And if you're someone like me, they're like the polar opposite of me. But they're nice people. I mean, most people might think they're kind of odd, but they live off the land. They don't have electricity. They don't have cars or nothing like that. So, they're interesting people for sure.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know they lived off the land. I don't know anything about it. I don't think I've ever met an Amish person.
Yeah, they're they have beards and they wear they're very traditional people. They look like, if you've seen like back. Have you ever seen like The Patriot, that movie with Mel Gibson?
Yeah, a long time ago.
They dress like that basically. They wear like overalls and all. Like they're very private people. They're interesting. By the way, Drew, the Rice football team attempting to head home. They're going to relocate to TCU, so they're going to hang out in Texas Christian for a while until that sad story and hurricane is gone. So lot of problems this storm has caused, and a lot of sad pictures out of that area. So if you're in that area, be safe. I don't know if we have any listeners down there in that area, but if you are, please be safe. There's an Amish bakery near me. Yeah, their donuts are very good, Drew. I will say this: they eat very well, Amish people. They're people that during the day, Drew, they'll when I worked with my dad when I was younger, for like lunch, they would bring full meals. Like they would bring just very good food. I mean, it was pretty interesting. They work hard. The women work pretty hard. Donald Lee's in Northwest Houston. Well, I hope you're okay, Donald. Hopefully you stay safe and heed the warning.
Stay safe,
Drew, anything else tonight?
No, I'm good. I'm going in for Thursday through Monday, trying to get in as much as possible. Are we on any bit in later in the week? I know we
Yeah,
got the round table.
I know you and I were going to be conducting a couple of football breakdown videos, and I'm interested to do, Drew. Maybe this is something we could do. Maybe some games the listeners want us to break down. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit Drew up on Twitter. Drew and I are going to do 3 or 4 videos each week on anticipated games or games that you guys want us to talk about, and throw them out. So if there's games you want us to talk about, feel free to throw them in. We'll gladly break them down. I know we're going to do them later in the week. Tonight, Late Night on Campus will be on at 10 o'clock Eastern. And I know Donnie put the cat out of the bag last week of Late Night on Campus, so this is going to be our final week. We're going to pick it back up probably a little bit later in the winter when college football's over and basketball begins. But for now, this will be our last week. So join us for the last week for the time being of the Late Night on Campus tonight at 10. I'll be on at 3 o'clock as well with Natalie and Alex from Need for Tips, talking the weekend that was in soccer. We had a lot of interesting scorelines there. So join us at 3 for that. Drew, I'll talk to you later in the week. Thanks for joining me today. And it looks like the under hit, by the way. I only said Donnie once. So.
Damn, yeah. Congrats, bro. And thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I know it's a tough fill for Donnie right side, but yeah, it was fun. Thanks for popping my cherry on the right side of campus here, BMOC.
I will say this. I'd rather have you than Donnie.
Yeah. Yeah, right. All right, buddy.
But all right, man. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you later on the Late Night Campus. Have a nice day, guys. Bye-bye.